Story 1. The walk from one casino to the next is farther than you think, especially in high heels and 115 degrees. Story 2. I used to live in a 1772 house in the heart of Charleston, South Carolina's historic district. I was often astonished by the number of tourists who pressed their faces against the first-floor windows to look inside the house and even tried to open the front door. I wish tourists would remember that Charleston is a real city where people live their lives. It is not a theme park. Story 3. If you are going swimming in the ocean, learn to swim before coming. Do not go in the water if you do not know how to at least doggy paddle. Also, if you go to the beach, pick up your litter. Locals should not have to walk the beach every day to pick up your trash. Story 4. Do not follow your global positioning system all the way to Pike Place Market. You will end up on a street that is inexplicably not pedestrian only, yet surrounded by thousands of pedestrians. Story 5. If you are going to travel in your camper van and travel at 15 miles per hour, please avoid commuting hours. Story 6. I'm from a certain part of Montana close to the entrance of Yellowstone National Park. I do not understand why people disregard the park rules about staying on the pathways and maintaining distance from the animals. I spend all season watching news. Clips about tourists dying in the sulfur pits or getting trampled or gored by animals. That park is their home. They deserve respect and distance, not tourists harassing them. I never feel pity when someone gets attacked, hurt, or even killed. They never learn. Story 7. Hello from the Scottish Highlands. I am glad you have come to our beautiful corner of the globe. I understand that you are driving slowly because you are probably not used to driving on the left or to our narrow roads, and you likely want to enjoy the scenery. However, please pull over and let the locals pass. Story 8. When visiting New York City, step aside from the main flow of people walking when you need to look at your phone or take a picture, especially in the most crowded areas. Imagine driving a car and just randomly braking in the middle of the street when you have lots of traffic behind you. That is what it is like. Story 9. Walk in rows of 2 on sidewalks. If there are just 2 of you, perfect. If there are 4 of you, walk in 2 rows of 2. Space is a more important resource in a big city, and taking up more space than you need prevents other people from doing their activities. Story 10. Coming to Florida during the summer is like living on the surface of the sun. Your sweat does not evaporate due to the moisture, so you are just hot and wet. Story 11. Florida. Our state bird is the mosquito, and our state animal is Florida man. We are not just Disney World and beaches. We also have swamps and springs, and the place where The Truman Show was filmed, Seaside, Florida. There are creatures that live in and around the beach, and they do not care whether you want to have a nice vacation. Alligators can climb fences. Story 12. Babe, please wear closed-toed shoes on Bourbon Street. No one wants to step in that gravy. Use those shoes to get away from Bourbon Street. New Orleans has so much more to offer. But take an Uber, please. Stray 1 block in the wrong direction, and your watch and purse will be stolen. Story 13. Just because the place is beautiful does not mean it is not treacherous or even deadly. This is not Hawaii as portrayed by Disney. The open ocean takes no prisoners. The currents are strong, and if you are as far north as possible on an island, especially Kauai where I live, you are in serious danger if you get pulled out far enough. There is nothing to hold on to or wash up on once you have passed a certain point. Look at the map and see how small the entire state of Hawaii is and how much ocean surrounds it. Listen to the lifeguards, obey the signs, and stay out of the water when locals or residents are staying out of it. Going out to a forbidden spot just because you have seen it on social media or a friend has done it is one of the most foolish things tourists do. At the end of the day, do you want to go home in the seat you booked? Or do you want to go home under the plane in a coffin, assuming they can find and recover your body? Do not touch any sea life even if you think you are helping it. It is illegal, dangerous, and can damage the entire area. If you believe an animal needs help, call Fish and Wildlife, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or even the police. They will know who to contact. You are not helping them even when you think it is obvious they need help. Many species are monitored, and even if they are not tagged, it does not mean they are not being tracked. Just do not touch any sea life. Do not demand aloha if you are not going to give aloha. Story 14. If you are flying from a low-altitude area to a high-altitude location, please take it easy for a few days. Do not go straight up Pikes Peak or visit the mountain zoo immediately. Make sure you drink enough water. I have seen many people get altitude sickness by doing these activities too soon. Story 15. Do not try to drive into downtown. It is a parking lot, even if you go early or come from the other direction. Just do not. Take transit. It will be less frustrating. Story 16. Stay out of the waterfalls. The emergency room staff at the hospital runs a betting pool every year on when the first tourist will come in with something broken, cracked open, or both, because they attempted the year's first dive off a waterfall. While on the topic, leave the bears alone. If you see one, even downtown or in the hospital parking deck, if you have gone there to see a friend who fell off a waterfall, leave it alone. Just go inside until it leaves. Do not panic and do not call 911. Story 17, London. Do not get in those bright musical rickshaw tuk-tuk vehicles. Do not wear nice jewelry or watches. Do not take out your phone. Thieves snatch them. Also, you are looking for Tower Bridge, not London Bridge. Story 18. I live in Arizona. It is really hot here. Do not hike in the desert. All summer long, groups of tourists need to be rescued from hiking trails because they get heat exhaustion or die. A family recently lost 2 children. Story 19. Wear sunscreen and reapply it regularly. Haphazardly spraying sunscreen in your general area does not count as applying sunscreen. Really, just get a sun shirt and a large hat. My typical day is filled with seeing overweight, pasty Midwesterners in white sneakers and full-length socks who look like they need to be transferred to the burn clinic. Story 20. Put on the God sunscreen. I do not care if it is cloudy. I do not care if you never wear it at home. You are going to burn so badly your grandchildren will get skin cancer. Story 21. I guess the whole of New Zealand counts since tourism is a large part of our gross domestic product. Buy good sunblock and wear it every time you go out in the sun. Our ultraviolet levels here are often extreme, and you will burn quickly. Sun protection factor 50 is ideal, but keep in mind that not all sunblock is created equally. Some lie about their ratings. Story 22. I live near Peggy's Cove in Nova Scotia, Canada. There are signs all over the place warning people to stay off the black rocks close to the water. They are extremely slimy and slippery from eons of crashing waves from the North Atlantic Ocean, but tourists still insist on risking their safety for the sake of a selfie. Every summer, people die there when rogue waves drag them into the sea. You cannot run fast enough on smooth, slippery granite when a wave comes crashing toward you. It is incredibly dangerous for search and rescue teams to go after anyone who falls in or is pulled under. It is rarely a rescue mission and more often the recovery of a body. Enjoy the scenery, but stay off the black rocks. Story 23. Most tourists get in cabs and think the driver will know the best clubs and restaurants, so they miss out on the latest bands. Instead of cheap and delicious food, they all end up at the Hard Rock Cafe. Story 24. We are happy you are visiting. Enjoy your time, but be clean and respectful. Pay for camping sites, clean your area before you leave, and put out your fires completely. Story 25, Chicago. 63rd and Martin Luther King Jr. Drive is not a tourist attraction just because Chief Keef grew up nearby. It is legitimately the most dangerous corner in the city. There is no reason to be in that entire area. Someone is truly going to get killed there one day while taking photos. Story 26. What happens in popular areas with bad behavior, such as Las Vegas, stays there for the visitor, but that does not mean no one has to deal with it. The people who live there are left with that burden. Story 27. Not totally a tourist trap town per se. However, we know when summer has kicked off by the first death of the year of a hiker, typically from out of town, who thought bringing 1 bottle of water for a 3-hour hike would be sufficient in 110 degrees plus heat. I live outside of Phoenix. Story 28. New Orleans here. It would not be so dirty if you would stop urinating in the street and on people's front doors. Actual people live in the corridor. Story 29. I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. I have a few tips. 1. Stay hydrated and don't drink too much alcohol, especially during the summer. Alcohol dehydrates you quickly, and in Nevada, heat stroke is a serious risk. If you're going to drink, stay inside and have water on standby. 2. There are many stores on the Strip. There is a Walgreens, and most hotels have a small convenience store. The problem is their prices are very high. There is a Smith's a block west of the Orleans Hotel and Casino that is basically a Kroger, and you can likely get what you need there for much cheaper. 3. Aside from the Smiths I mentioned, I don't advise going outside of the Strip at night. Some areas are rough. 4. If you know someone locally who is willing to take you somewhere for free, take them up on the offer and be polite. You might waste half your paycheck if you go with a tour company or pay too much even if you use ride-sharing to the same place. 5. No, you can't walk the Strip in one day and enjoy everything. Definitely don't walk around in heels. Bring a pair of good walking shoes and give yourself 2 to 3 days to explore and enjoy yourself. Story 30. No, it is not okay for your whole family to get out of the car to stand by the iconic street signs for a photo while you block traffic. Yes, we know they are cool. It is still an intersection, as you can tell by the traffic lights and other cars. Also, yes, we can smell the chocolate coming from the factory, so please stop asking us if we can smell it. No, we do not get used to it. Most of us like it, so you do not need to point it out. Story 31. Welcome to Phoenix. I have no clue why you chose to visit in the summer. I'm guessing because it was cheap. You are now vacationing in hell. I don't care how in shape you are or how used to the heat you are where you're from. Do not hike the urban mountain trails until the highs drop into the 90s. We will not feel bad should an unpleasant fate befall you. In fact, there might be laughter. We will feel bad for the emergency personnel you have now forced to hike the trail with you and continue pushing for the city or state to implement a stupid hiker law. This also applies to locals who should know better but somehow don't. Story 32. In Orlando, Gatorland is highly underrated. It is very inexpensive and much less stressful than the large theme parks, suitable for a half-day visit. The experience is very authentic. Pictures of you tossing hot dogs to an alligator pair well with character breakfast photos on social media. Plan a rest day for your vacation. Visit Waffle House, go to Gatorland, and relax by the pool in the afternoon. It is a vacation within your vacation. Story 33. I do not live in Shipshewana, the Amish tourist town, but I am near it. Everything closes early, and everything is closed on Sunday, except for the gas station and subway in town. All the tourist spots that hire any Amish, the Amish want to go home and spend time with their families. They still have chores left to do, so by about 4:30 p.m., everyone is ready to go home. Story 34. Abbey Road in London. Listen up, Americans, and I don't need to hear any opinions about how things should work. It's a different country, so deal with it. The Abbey Road crosswalk from the album cover is a normal crosswalk, called a zebra crossing in the United Kingdom. If you stand waiting to cross at any zebra crossing, vehicles approaching have to stop by law. You are then supposed to cross. People come to Abbey Road zebra crossing to get a photo while walking across. But cars will stop for anyone waiting, and then no one actually crosses because they want a photo. The driver gets mad. Tourists wave the car past impatiently, and it causes even worse traffic. There is also a huge wait to get into the zebra crossing, and if you happen to just need to cross for normal reasons, grouchy Americans will say, "There's a line." So here's what you do. Wait well back from the road until there are no cars, then move quickly into the crossing, get one photo, and keep moving. Don't hold up a very busy street, you entitled idiots. Also, don't stand in the middle of the road waiting to take a photo of your family in the crossing. You're not at Disney. It's a main road. If everyone keeps doing this wrong, you might be the one to get hit because I'm starting to see drivers who no longer care to follow the law and are just driving through. Story 35. General advice for Australia. Don't squash spiders just because they exist. Most of our spiders are harmless and useful. Being closer to shore can reduce your likelihood of injury at the beach. We respect first come, first served here. Please join the queue. Don't hesitate to ask for directions or assistance. It is a big country. Be respectful to others. Story 36. For a long time, I lived in Oxford, United Kingdom. I was at one of the colleges, working on a Master of Science and Doctor of Philosophy. I lost count of the number of times tourists would walk into my rooms or the library as if it were a stop on the Oxford and Cambridge Experience tour, talking, smoking, and taking pictures. I would tell them to leave but was met with the declaration that they had paid for this tour and were entitled to go anywhere they wanted. People live and work here. Oddly, the worst were not Americans but Chinese who just would not go away. Story 37. Maybe not exactly a tourist trap, but I live in Albuquerque. We have the International Balloon Fiesta. I wish people knew beforehand that everywhere is going to be packed. People come here from all over the world. Please be kind to service workers. We just live here. Also, plan in advance for getting to the fiesta while driving. All the hotels, casino hotels, and cheap motels will be booked if you wait until July. Story 38. I live and work in a small village just outside the entrance to the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Buy every ounce of gas, cigarettes, and food you could possibly need for your entire trip while you're out of town. Gas is $2 more expensive here than it is 20 miles back south. We have literally the most expensive McDonald's in the country, and the food quality is poor. A gallon of milk will cost you about $13 at the local general store. A pack of cigarettes is almost $20. Half the time, diesel fuel is actually cheaper than regular gasoline. The best option for grocery shopping is driving almost 90 miles to the nearest decently sized city and hoping your frozen and refrigerated goods won't spoil before you get home, which is about an hour and a half after you finish shopping. Grocery shopping there takes almost the entire day. If the signs tell you not to feed the animals, do not feed the animals. Even if there isn't a sign stating that, still do not feed the wild animals. I recently caught someone throwing pieces of a stale burger at a pack of elk and I almost lost my temper. Leave the animals alone. If you hear an angry voice coming from the hilltop while you do this, it means someone is coming for you. Also, if I catch you littering in my town, I will take serious action against you. Story 39. I wouldn't call Vancouver a tourist trap, but we do get a lot of tourists. Many of them want to see the Rocky Mountains on their week-long trip. It's 10 hours of driving through mountains to get there. You are better off staying on the coast and enjoying what it has to offer than spending 2 days driving to the Rocky Mountains and back. Story 40. Your tourist money does not entitle you to drive poorly, park poorly, talk rudely, or display any other inappropriate behavior. Story 41. You are swimming and taking your bridal photos while dunking your toddler in ocean water that is completely contaminated by sewage from a broken sewer in Mexico. Story 42. Canada here. Your currency is not universal. We do not need to accept it everywhere. Do not be shocked when our offered exchange rate is not as good as that of Chase Manhattan. Please understand that your change will likely be in Canadian currency, the actual legal tender here in Canada. Story 43. Put on high-factor sunscreen, especially if you have children. A family came into the bar where I work today, and the boy, who was around 10 years old, was sunburned and miserable. It is 40 degrees Celsius in the shade. Story 44. Yes, it is a quaint little town, but people still live here. Please do not stop your rental car in the middle of a narrow one-way street or in the middle of a crosswalk to take photos. I am just trying to get groceries. Story 45. We actually live here and are trying to get to the doctor, go to work, pick up the kids, and get groceries. We don't mind if people want to enjoy the places we live, but please do not stop in the middle of the road to take pictures or drive 15 miles per hour under the speed limit with 30 cars behind you. We have places to be and people to see. Tourists often do not understand that many of us are trying to go about our daily lives. Story 46. I live near Byron Bay in Australia. Tourists arrive during the summer, which is the worst time to be here. It is hot, humid, and rains frequently with a high probability of flooding. September to November is the best time to visit. Story 47. The Outback sealed roads are perfectly safe. They have as much traffic as your quiet suburban street, so someone will be along soon if there is trouble. The Outback dirt roads are not safe. The roads are hard on the vehicle and can become impassable for a couple of weeks after a single night of rain. You can lose 2 tires in a day. Preparation is vital. Pack some shade and a container of water. Tell someone where you are going and empower them to call the police if you are late. Stay with the vehicle. It is literally the tallest thing for 10 kilometers. Hiding in the shade is not safe. Aboriginal people prefer to be called by the name of their language group, which can sound very different from how it is written. Your arrival is not the most interesting thing to happen this week. That would be what Auntie Mabel said about Uncle Trevor. Wait a moment for that important news to be shared, then ask for service. Good service in Australian cities is brisk and to the point. It is not about flattering the customer's ego. Good service in the Outback is taking time to make you feel part of the group. But go slow and do not overshare your own business. Wear less than you think you need during the day. Wear a hat. Use sunscreen. Drink lots of water. Eat breakfast. If you feel lightheaded, that is important news to share. Story 48. Parisian here. It's a general rule, but if you have already seen the major sites in Paris, just stay in the neighborhoods that are not central. Basically, avoid the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th arrondissements, the Eiffel Tower area, or locations near major attractions. Sure, it might be less scenic, but it will mostly prevent you from falling into tourist traps, such as restaurants with menus in multiple languages. You will enjoy more local Parisian life. Get a coffee, go to a street market, eat a pastry, try a restaurant with a small menu, sit in a park like Buttes Chaumont, watch a movie at an independent cinema. You will have a much better experience than if you hang out in touristy parts. Since avoiding those is hard, my rule of thumb is this: the more central the arrondissement, the more tourist traps you will find. The more peripheral the arrondissement, the more slow-paced and authentic. Story 49. We dislike the loud pipes on your motorcycles, and we think you are inconsiderate. You ruin the peace and beauty of our town, and other tourists who are here to enjoy it dislike it as well. Story 50. Read the room. I currently live in Tokyo as an American and see many visitors, not just Americans, who are loud and rude. Take a moment to observe how the locals behave or look up etiquette online. It is embarrassing to see a group of Australians talking loudly while the locals move seats away from them on a train, then talk about how loud the Americans are being. Then hearing the Australians laugh loudly about how quiet the train is, as if it is abnormal. This is not just about Australians. That was a recent incident that came to mind, so there is no need to get upset. Story 51. There are no secret local restaurants. I worked at a store and was constantly asked for restaurant recommendations, which is understandable. However, when I told them a few, they were always like, "No, but where do the locals eat?" They even pushed further, asking, "But where do you go to eat?" I always wanted to say, "Well, I go to Subway because I cannot afford anything else." Story 52. Do you want to visit Salem, Massachusetts for Halloween? Do not get an Airbnb in Boston and then just drive in. What is normally a 20 to 30-minute drive will take 1 to 2.5 hours, and finding parking will be very difficult. Story 53. If you believe the advertisements and the 10 best XYZ towns to visit articles that are really advertisements in disguise, you are going to be disappointed. Story 54. Nobody in the neighborhood where they have rented their Airbnb wants to see them, hear them, or talk to them. The house they are staying in used to be a home. The people who used to live there were our neighbors, trying to find an affordable way to live and work here. Then investors bought it, kicked them out, turned it into an Airbnb, and made our housing crisis even worse than it already was. Please, when you travel, support the communities you are visiting by staying in hotels, not homes. Story 55. For the love of all things, put out your campfire and do not throw cigarettes out your window. The western United States gets extremely dry in the summer and is like a giant firebox waiting to ignite. There were a dozen fires started this month between Utah and Colorado alone from lightning. Others were caused by humans. A lit cigarette can shut down a highway for days. The Grand Canyon South Rim and the Black Canyon of the Gunnison South Rim have both suffered heavy damage that could take a decade or more to recover. The Cedar Fire in San Diego, the Marshall Fire in Boulder, and the fires in Maui show that this happens in heavily populated areas as well. Story 56. People who vacation in Los Angeles and do not plan to rent a car should consider that renting a car is likely cheaper than taking an Uber everywhere, and 10,000 times more convenient than public transit. Story 57. Lake District, England. Stop driving so slowly and in the middle of the road. These are narrow country lanes, and if you go around a bend in the middle of the two lanes, you will likely get hit. Also, pull over if you want to stop and admire things. Do not drive slowly and make everyone else around you wait. This advice applies to most of the United Kingdom. Be more considerate. Story 58. Former Moab resident. Most of the year, it is a small village of approximately 5,000. In the summer, the population can increase to 40,000. There are only 2 grocery stores in town. Please bring some of your own food. Locals still need to eat. Story 59. You are visiting the mountains, not some little foothills. There will be bugs, squirrels, and the occasional mouse in the garage. There might be a few leaves in the pool. And no, we are not driving 45 minutes to the house to get them out. Make the kids do it. They love that. You will hear frogs at night. For the love of all things sacred, if there is a bear container outside, there are bears. Close the door when you leave the house, and do not complain when Boo Boo mistakes your car for a picnic basket and goes after the French fries in the back seat. Story 60. If you see red flags on a Lake Michigan beach, stay out of the water. The lake does not care how strong a swimmer you are. If you do not respect its boundaries, it will not respect yours, and then someone has to risk their life to recover your body. Story 61. There is a large book called Death in the Grand Canyon. It sells many copies and is frequently updated. The metal rails and stone knee walls on the rim were made in the 1930s. There are no modern safety features on the rim trails. The wind generally gusts above 20 miles per hour. Climbing over the inadequate rails or walls or allowing your children on them is highly likely to result in a family member being featured in the book, and it also ruins a Ranger's Day. No one on social media cares enough about your picture for you to act recklessly and spoil everyone else's views. Story 62. That vacation rental you are staying in used to be someone's home. The reason the restaurants are not open 7 days a week is that you are staying in someone's home who used to live and work here. Story 63. Do not bother visiting the Seattle Space Needle. The restaurant on top is expensive and terrible. Additionally, there are better views in other buildings. Story 64. Stop wearing witch hats in Salem, Massachusetts when you visit. For the love of God or Satan, just do not. Story 65. That people live here. You are absolutely welcome to visit, but do not treat everyone like they are a non-player character in your vacation. Story 66. The tower formerly known as Sears, which none of the locals call by its current official name anyway besides the newscasters, has a sky deck that is expensive and involves a long wait for a view you probably already saw approaching O'Hare International Airport or Midway International Airport. Save your money and time and head down to Grant Park or Millennium Park, especially on a nice day. The river walk is also nice. The architecture cruise is definitely touristy, but if you're going to splurge on one thing, this is it. Similarly, you could spend significant money on a lake cruise, or go local and hike part of the lakefront trail to see as much or as little of the city front porch as your interest and foot endurance allow. Avoid Navy Pier. Not even the suburbs residents go to the pier. There are a dozen parks lining the lakeshore in either direction, and all of them offer lovely lake views. A great alternative combination is to spend an hour or two at Lincoln Park Zoo, which is absolutely free, then walk over to Fullerton or North Avenue Beach and relax. Finally, deep dish pizza is strictly for tourists. Skip Uno and Do with their multi-hour weekend waits and find a decent tavern-style pizza place. There are many options. Ask your hotel desk clerk or driver. You will save money, have a fabulous pizza dinner, and still have energy left for one of the above-mentioned outings. Story 67. If the meteorologist says the roads are closed due to snow, then stay home. Do not drive up to the point where it closes and then park on the side of the highway or side streets waiting for the highway to reopen. If you plan to camp, please do as much grocery shopping as possible before you arrive. Many tourists raid the only grocery store to pick up supplies mid-trip, leaving empty shelves for locals who are just doing their weekly shopping. Story 68. Can you even try to come prepared? Or think about anything in advance? If you show up to a tourist trap on a holiday weekend, it will be busy. Things will be sold out. You will not get that fancy restaurant reservation if you haven't made it weeks before. It is not the fault of the people who work at these places that you arrived 2 days ago. You don't have work. Your children don't have school. That means many people do not have work or school, and everyone is going to the same places. Plan ahead. Be flexible. Look things up on the website and have backup plans. Do these things and you will be much happier and have a good vacation. Story 69. Please do not set off fireworks on Sunday night in front of your Airbnb. It is 2 a.m., and the residents have work in the morning. Be a considerate guest. Story 70. Please pick up your trash and follow the signs that say to stay off the waterfalls. Someone died doing something dangerous, and now the entire area is closed to everyone. Story 71. York. No, you cannot drive your hired Land Rover down Stonegate. Most of the old city was built for nothing wider than a donkey cart. Story 72. I'm not going to wait to walk down the sidewalk or walk around you so you can get your picture. I would never get anywhere if I did. Either wait for a clear space or accept that people actually live in the city you are visiting. Also, it is kind of fun to think about the hundreds or thousands of pictures on people's phones all around the world that include me. Story 73. Do not dig sand tunnels at the beach. They collapse and you can suffocate. Also, fill in any smaller holes you dig because they are harmful to nesting turtles. Story 74. Parking in neighborhoods where residents live to avoid paying for parking is problematic. This is not a theme park, so not everyone is on vacation. Story 75. This may be true for all places, but please people respect the locals and the place where we live. Thank you. Story 76. Living on the Big Island of Hawaii. 1. Respect the honu or sea turtles. Admire them from a distance. Honu are protected and sacred in Hawaiian culture. When they are resting on the beach, do not touch, chase, or crowd them. Give them space, they deserve it. 2. Slow down, you are in Hawaii. Life moves slower here. Let go of mainland urgency. Be patient, kind, and generous. Let people cross the road. Hold the door for auntie or uncle, and share the spirit of aloha wherever you go. 3. Take out what you bring in. Do not leave trash, towels, snorkels, or beach gear behind. If you cannot take it home, donate it. Hawaii does not have the space or the resources to clean up after careless visitors. 4. Respect the land. Our environment is one of a kind and extremely fragile. Thousands of invasive species are already threatening it. Stay on trails, avoid touching coral, and do not bring in foreign plants or animals. 5. Show respect to service workers. Please do not expect locals to cater to your every need. Yes, you are on vacation, but we are working hard to live here, often juggling multiple jobs in one of the most expensive places in the United States. We hear the same questions every day. Why is everything so expensive? Why is everyone so slow? The truth is, Hawaii is beautiful but not easy. Have patience, tip well, and lead with kindness. We did not choose to make tourism our main economy, but we do our best to welcome you with aloha. Story 77. When you go to the grocery store in a town that only has one, where all the locals have to shop too, it is okay to go in a group of fewer than 8 people. Better yet, go alone. Story 78. I would not say it is a tourist trap, but I live near the Angeles National Forest. Tourists come to Los Angeles, see the beautiful mountains behind the city, and decide to go for a hike. They are often completely unprepared, wearing flip-flops and carrying only a small water bottle. They do not realize how rugged the area is and sometimes need to be rescued. The forest is open to everyone, and no one stops them, so incidents happen throughout the year. Story 79. It still amazes me that people hear about wildlife defending themselves from careless tourists and then try to pet them as if they are puppies. This is not a petting zoo. You are not a Disney princess. That bison can gore you and flip you around. Story 80. If you bring a firearm with you, do not attempt to bring it onto Disney property or leave it forgotten in a bag. You might think this is obvious, but people are frequently criminally charged for this. Story 81. Las Vegas residents generally have no idea what is new or exciting on the Las Vegas Strip. We never go there for pleasure. Please stop asking and becoming rude when we cannot answer your questions. Story 82. That Hawaii was a kingdom. It is important to be curious when passing statues and other significant or subtly significant areas. Story 83. I'm sure someone has already said this, but when visiting London and using the underground, please stand on the right-hand side of the escalators. Have your Oyster card or travel card ready before you get to the ticket gate. If you're on the street, please walk fast. If you insist on walking slowly, do not walk in the middle of the pavement. We have places to be. Other than that, enjoy your stay. Story 84. Welcome to our beautiful mountains. It is not okay to leave your trash at the picnic table. It is not okay to graffiti everything you see. It is not okay to play loud music. It is not okay to drive recklessly up and down the roads. Do all the locals a favor and stay home. Story 85. When the tourists say, "My family has been coming here for generations, so we are essentially locals now," it is not mutual. You may feel that way about us, but we definitely do not feel that way about you. Story 86. I live in a picturesque wine-producing region in Italy. My town has 600 actual residents and many times more tourists in summer. 1. Do not leave trash around. 2. Do not trust maps. They can be inaccurate. If it looks like you shouldn't drive there, don't, even if navigation apps insist it's a great route. 3. People are sleeping and have work or school. Be reasonable and somewhat quiet late at night. 4. This is not a museum. I live here. Do not come into my yard unless you have a reason. Do not pick fruit from the trees in my orchard without asking. I will probably say yes if you ask. If you do find yourself in my yard, please do not look through my blinds into my house. Story 87. Dublin, Ireland here. Asking a local to say a phrase like to be sure, is highly insulting and demeaning. This has happened to me multiple times, each time by a visitor from Britain. And Americans, we do not want Conor McGregor for president, we do not have an immigrant problem, and you are visiting a country with strong socialist principles. Most of you are fine, but some seem to think that we share the same racist, backward ideas as you do. We do not, and assuming we do is just insulting and shows how ignorant you are. Story 88. I live in North London and I go to college in King's Cross. The number of tourists I see buying trinkets from the stores and the prices is extortionate. Last time I was there, they were charging £45 for a simple fridge magnet. Story 89. We live close to Breckenridge, Colorado. Many people underestimate how the altitude can affect them and the need for a four-wheel drive vehicle in the winter. Story 90. California. Assume the water wants to kill you. The ocean has great white sharks, rip currents, and very sharp rocks. The rivers have waterfalls and strainers, which are hazards like fallen trees that water can go through but not you, undercuts in rocks, hydraulics such as spitters and keepers, and low-head dams that sound innocuous but will absolutely kill you. Our lakes will lull you into going out without life jackets, then sneak up and drown you. Story 91. Seattle. It is Pike Place. There is no S. The ferries are not going to Alaska. That is still Washington over there. The Space Needle is cool. There is no good food at the top. Avoid McStabby's at 3rd and Pine. We do not care that you went to the first Starbucks. Yes, there are a lot of steep hills here. Traveling east and west turns every day into cardio day. None of us know where, insert obscure club here, is. It will be something completely different in a few months anyway. Oh, you came here for sports? Cool. We do not care about the previous successes of your sports teams. Story 92. The worst time to visit any of the Disney theme parks is spring break, summer, and the week of Thanksgiving. If you really want to enjoy the parks, visit sometime between the last 2 weeks of January and the end of February. Yes, you will have to take the kids out of school, but if you must take them to Disney, this is the time to do it. Not only are the parks much less crowded, the weather is usually gorgeous with temperatures between 60 and 70 degrees, sunshine, and no rain. Story 93. French Quarter, New Orleans. 1. Workers will be transporting goods between locations. Give way, especially at intersections where they need the slope for their cart or wagon. 2. As a pedestrian, you should act like a vehicle at intersections. If a braking car arrives first, let them pass. 3. Parents. Be aware that your children are very welcome as long as they do not inhibit business activity. 4. Also, parents, many of the better amenities are attached to bars. Please do not threaten business licenses with your children's presence. 5. Yes, this area is considered the adult version of Disneyland. It does not have the same security system. Have a sober buddy. 6. As mentioned before, open-toed shoes and unstable heels are a mistake. The sidewalks can easily cause ankle injuries. 7. If someone tells you to stop talking to a random helpful person, listen. 8. Last but not least, those of us in the French Quarter truly want you to enjoy your time here. We are human and get grumpy sometimes. However, we find joy in helping you narrow down your next step or head in the direction you want to go. Please know that we care. Story 94. I would tell them to dress in layers, yes, even in the summer. It is honestly fun to watch the tourists have to buy overpriced San Francisco hoodies when they are at Fisherman's Wharf and Pier 39. Story 95. Boston is not a tourist trap, but it is a popular tourist destination because of its history and cultural attractions. Visitors should avoid driving in the city. Park your car at the hotel and use public transportation, taxis, or ride-sharing services to get around. This will reduce stress and allow you to better enjoy the many attractions Boston offers. Skip the trip to Plymouth Rock, as there is little else to see in that area, making it a special trip that may be disappointing. Story 96. If you are coming to Byron Bay to experience carefree Australian hippie beach living, that lifestyle disappeared from there 20 years ago. They are trading on a historical memory of a lifestyle that no longer exists. If you want authentic laid-back Australian beach town vibes, most small beach towns south of Byron offer a taste of what it used to be like, just without Matt Damon and the Hemsworth brothers. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.